Good evening. This is Sunday evening, June 1st. Don Palayo checking in with you guys. I've been thinking a little bit today about how I want to run this channel going forward. Um, and I want to provide information to you guys as well as talk about things that are going on in my life, things that I'm finding out. I'll pass along things to you as I are made aware of them. Um, I was looking a little bit at the news today. It looks like Ukraine sent some drones into Russia. So things are still kind of escalating over in Eastern Europe. Of course, this is important for us. I'm hoping some of these chaotic events will start to calm down. I think there's a lot of agitation in the world right now. I think people have are. I think other countries, some of the our rivals around the world are starting to feel like the United States is weak, that this might be a time to strike. That's I hate saying that, but they're probably right, really. And I'm not really talking just economically. I don't think most Americans are in any mood to be fighting a major war right now. Americans don't want to be in the middle of. We don't want to be involved in it, and that kind of gives a free hand to countries that have bad intentions, like, Russia with Ukraine, China with Taiwan. Those are things we're going to have to watch. I'll be honest with you, at Taiwan, I just don't feel like there's much that we can do about. If China decides to take Taiwan, they're going to take Taiwan. It's just the island is so close to China's coast, and China has built up a pretty significant military. Um, they're a major trading partner of ours. We're dependent upon China for a lot of the goods that we have. Um, if they did do something like that, I think the United States would respond economically. I think we would begin cutting China off. We may not be trading with them as much um, if something like that were to happen. Taiwan does produce a lot of important things for us, especially where electronics and chips, the semiconductors and chips that we get from, for our computers and all of the devices that have all these computer chips. A lot of that comes from Taiwan, and that would not be ideal if China were to take that island. But that is very, very possible that that happens, and I don't think there's much the U.S. could do about it. I don't think the American people are in the mood for a war with China. So that's something to just keep our eyes on. Also, here domestically, we've had a few stories here lately. I saw that ICE has been doing more arrests. They've been there was they rounded up several hundred, and a lot of these were Chinese immigrants. The ones I saw, the story that I saw in the news. So ICE is out there trying to clean up our immigration, problem. For those of you that might be immigrants to the United States, perhaps you're here legally, perhaps you're here illegally. I would just say try to get your status legalized. I know that may be a little bit more difficult now under the Trump administration. It might require you going home and filing the appropriate paperwork. The United States needs immigrants. We do. Our country needs immigrants. Immigrants have always been a boost to our country. We've had periods where we had immigration from Scandinavia, from Germany, Italians, Irish. We've had people from all over the world that have come here to make the country that we have today. Um, in the past, historically, we've had people came in on ships, went into Ellis Island and immigrated to the country that way, and we had records of everyone that was coming into the country. The primary problem we have today is that we don't have a record of who's coming in. The people that are coming across the border, we don't have those records, and it's important because we don't want to allow criminal element into our country, coming into our country, bringing drugs, bringing sex trafficking, bringing a lot of the problems that we've been having. We need to be able to control that, and so that's why the border is such a big deal for Trump supporters. We just need we don't. It's not that we're opposed to immigration. We want to have controlled immigration. I think we need to. I think our country we need immigration, but we can't handle millions coming every year. We need to control the number that are coming in. We need to control the the type of people that we're bringing in. We do need laborers. You know, it's like we do kind of want the best of the best. You know, Trump talks about that. We you know, bringing in people that are educated, but we also need skilled labor. We don't have enough. We need to build a lot more housing here in the United States. We have a housing problem. Housing prices have gotten too high. We need more housing. We need people to build those houses. We need, you know, we certainly need people to help us in the agricultural industry. We need restaurant workers and we have people to do that, some of those jobs, but we don't have enough. That's the problem. And without immigrant labor, prices would substantially go up. That's going to be causing a problem with inflation. You know, as part of the problem, part of the cost of cost of doing business is going to go up without that. So we do need a certain amount of immigrant labor. We need, but we just need it to be controlled. We need to know who's coming in here, the type of people that we're bringing into the country. You know, we just want good quality people coming in, work, you know, doing the jobs you know, pay them, you know, what they need, you know, to survive, to have their, you know, to raise their families. Um, and that's what most Americans want. We want to have enough income coming in that we can raise our families, save for retirement, you know, have access to decent quality health care. That's what all people want. So we're not opposed to that. It's just we've got some problems with our immigration system that need to be worked out. We just need to have a better record of who's coming in, and we need to have a legal immigration system, perhaps a little bit less restrictive that we've had in the past. You know, make it a little bit easier to become legal, to do it the legal way, but at the same time controlling for people that are bad intention people trying to come in here and, you know, be on the wrong side of the law. So that's how I feel about that. Also, they're trying to get the Trump's big beautiful bill through the Senate. It's already passed the House. Now they've got to try to get it through the Senate, which is going to be pretty difficult, I think. There are a lot of Republicans that are not real happy with this bill. Um, Rand Paul is opposing it. You know, a lot of the conservative Republicans want to see us do something about our debt. You know, our debt is becoming a major issue, and they're seeing it, and they don't feel like this bill really addresses it to the extent that it needs to. And so I think that's the way Elon Musk felt too. I think he felt like this bill didn't do enough to address our debt. So we're gonna have to, you know, we're gonna have to see how that plays out. They're really going for more tax cuts. I don't know if this is a real. There's these two competing philosophies in government. Republicans feel like the best way to handle um, government is to really reduce taxes, which to spur economic growth. You reduce taxes, it acts as a fire for economic growth. You know, it's that's part of the Republican philosophy is they want less taxes, less government regulation, and that will spur economic growth. Democrats, on the other hand, want more taxes, but they want heavier taxes on the upper echelon, right? And I'm pretty centrist when it comes to economic policies. Actually understand the Democratic position on some of these issues. I do think there need to be some strategic tax increases. For example, the cap on Social Security, I believe that cap needs to be removed. Make Social Security tax a flat tax on all earned income, and that's going to only impact the people earning over, I think it's like $170,000 a year. By doing that, you're only going to be targeting people earning over $170,000 a year, and you really shore up Social Security. That's going to really provide a boost to the Social Security system. That is like one of the first things that I think needs to be done. I think the Republicans need to get that done. And Republicans have been fighting back against that, and I don't think that I think they I disagree with the Republicans on that. I support the Democrats' proposal on that. I think that's something the Democrats have right. Um, so that needs to happen. Number one. Number two, and this is something that Democrats have opposed, but Republicans have supported. I think with the newer generation, with younger people, we need a system that allows for private accounts with their Social Security for the younger generation. I think it's too late for Gen X, for millennials, but maybe Generation Alpha, maybe Gen Z, Gen Alpha, those generations, they could set up private accounts. When they pay Social Security, they could invest it. They could put it into a different investment, maybe have like target date funds. For example, if you're entering the workforce, let's say just for ease of math here, let's say you're 20 years old. Well, you'll probably retire maybe 45 years from now. So let's say target date 2070. A 2070 target date fund would be pretty aggressive right now, but as you age, your fund will automatically gradually get more and more conservative as you get closer to retirement. I think that would be I think it's a great idea. Uh, Democrats have said they worry about investment risk because you invest the money, yeah, it's at risk. Traditionally, Social Security funds were put into treasuries and things like that, and more recently, you're paying Social Security tax and it's just going back out the door to pay for people on Social Security now because there's no savings right now. It's depleting itself, which is part of the reason why I think they need to lift that cap. Anyway, so that's how I feel about all of that. Financial news, S&P 500 was up 6% in May. So, it had a little bit of a dip after Trump announced his tariff plan. The market was kind of down in April, but it rebounded 6% in May. So that's a positive. It's up on the year. It's in positive territory for the year. I think as we move forward, barring some cataclysmic event, I think that we will see a positive return on the S&P 500 this year. Probably not real strong, but maybe an average year on the S&P 500. I think that this tariff stuff's going to kind of gradually be getting itself worked out. That's just my view of it. Of course, I could be completely wrong. Of course, there's no guarantees with investments. So, but looking at it, I think the administration is saying that tariffs are not going to go away. So there's still going to be tariffs probably for the next 3.5 years while Trump's in office. So we're going to probably be dealing with the tariff thing. It does add a little element of uncertainty to the markets, and the markets hate uncertainty. So I think that we're just going to have to deal with that for the time being. I would just stay diversified. I do think it's a good idea to include some precious metals in your plan, even if it's only like 5% of your portfolio. I think having those precious metals right now it's a good time to have that, because I don't see the money printing stopping anytime soon. I think they could get a handle on it and begin to change it, but it's going to take decades, if not centuries to deal with the debt that we have. Um, I'm hoping that our politicians begin getting that under control. The spending has got to be reined in, and we got to start gradually trying to get to a balanced budget, try to get it to where we're not adding any debt, and then eventually I would like to see us at a point where we're paying off some of this debt and we start going back the other way, but it's going to take decades if not centuries to do that. So the debt's going to be there. We're going to have debt for the foreseeable future. So any hard assets, commodities, real estate, all of it, the general trend, there may be hiccups, short-term hiccups where it drops, but long-term trend, I see all of that moving upward. Um, India, India right now is one of the fastest growing economies, and I was, I personally try to avoid putting any investment into China just because I worry about where things are going with China. I do not trust the Chinese government. The Chinese people seem to be great. They seem friendly and everything, but the Chinese government I'm very leery of. So I choose not to invest or try very hard not to invest in Chinese businesses. Now I do buy products at the store that are probably made in China, which I would like to try to find substitutes for that. I need to work harder on that. It's easier said than done. We get so many things from China, but India is I wouldn't say they're really an ally of ours, but they are friendlier. And I think we can get along with India a little bit easier than we can with the Chinese Communist Party. Um, so India also has the world's largest population now. China has lost that crown, and India has the largest population, and they're starting to see some economic growth in India. And in case you wanted to get exposure to India, there's a couple of ways you can do that. There is an ETF. There are a few ETFs that are specifically targeting India. One of the probably the largest one is the iShares, INDA. That's the ticker symbol. And it's specifically investing in Indian businesses in India. Now, this is not a recommendation. I would make this probably a very small portion of your portfolio, but it could be a part of your emerging markets. Now you could diversify a little bit and get an emerging market index fund. There's several of those. There are emerging market index funds, which, for example, a couple of the ones that I picked out, the iShares EEM as in Mary, or the Vanguard VWO. Those are two of the prime big emerging market index funds. But those emerging market funds are going to have a lot of Chinese companies in there, and that's the reason why I choose not to invest in those. In fact, right now, and I tend to skew almost entirely toward U.S. companies. Um, I used to watch, when working in finance, I've watched international markets, and I've just never seen growth. Like, you look at Europe, the European stock markets. There might be off years, but almost always the U.S. market outperforms Europe and Asia. But um, I think it's good to begin to get diversified because I do believe America is starting to weaken a little bit right now. I still am like pro America, so I do have a little bit of international exposure in my work retirement plan, but I'm probably allocated. I would say I'm probably about 95% in U.S. companies in my portfolio right now. They typically recommend you have about a third of your investments in international companies. I'm not anywhere close to that right now. So I'm probably about 95% US. Um, but I may tweak that a little bit, targeting mostly some of these emerging market. Europe, Europe is just. I don't expect Europe to do much. Their markets to do much, mainly because Europe has a different philosophy about life. They want to enjoy life. They're not trying to make big money. You don't have a lot of people really driving themselves to try to become rich. I mean, there are a few rich people in Europe. There are some rich Europeans, but you don't have the same mentality in Europe that you have in the United States or in Asia. So I would probably be targeting, if I would be investing internationally, India, and maybe some of the other. You can look at Singapore, Taiwan. I think is just a little bit too dicey right now. In times past, it would be an option. Right now, I think it's a little dicey. South Korea would be another option. India, so those are some places I might look. I might look at some specific countries, maybe in Europe. There are index funds that target specific countries, but I think right now, if I'm going to invest internationally, I'm going to probably have one broad. I think my work plan, I'm kind of broadly diversified there. I probably have some European exposure. I probably have more of general international. But if I was going to add international exposure to my IRAs, I would probably be looking at India and some of those other southeastern countries, not Southeastern Asian countries, not China. Um, anyway, so that's going on. I wasn't aware of this. Maybe some of you guys were aware of this, but there are some wildfires in Canada right now, and there's a problem with air quality in some of our northern states. So you people living maybe in Michigan, up there in maybe Minnesota, northern U.S. states, you might want to make yourselves aware of that, about the air quality, especially if you're older or have breathing problems with breathing, things like that. That might make it a little bit rougher on you. So stay aware of that. I had that was the first I'd heard of it, so just be keeping your eyes on that. Lastly, there's still a lot of bickering about Medicaid. I'm seeing news stories about, oh, they're cutting Medicaid, and I know what they're trying to do. With this is what's going on with Medicaid right now. The Trump administration feels like there has been a lot of abuse of the system, that there are people on Medicaid that really should not be on Medicaid. So the people that really need Medicaid, people that are disabled, people that are impoverished, people that are, really struggling to make it, in terms of, you know, just really bad situations financially, and as well as people that are severely, that can't work. I have a brother. I have a brother. Full disclosure here. I have my youngest brother. He is fully autistic. He can't. He can do some basic tasks, but he couldn't work a regular job like normal. Like I can, or he just can't do that. And mostly, and he does get Medicaid. He actually has Medicare and Medicaid. Um, and believe it or not, you can get Medicare under the age of 65, when you're disabled like that. So he's been disabled like that since birth. He was born that way. And it's for people like him that that we have those systems for that. It's like people that just can't work. It doesn't have to be mental disability. It can be physical disabilities that, different things that really make it difficult for you to have a good quality of life, to be able to work and provide for yourself. We need to have those things for them. We don't need people on Medicare or Medicaid that just don't want to work, don't want to try very hard, don't want to, you know, there's just unfortunately we have people out here that don't want to try to make anything of themselves, and that's a different situation. And of course, though, I think we've also had people, immigrants to the country that are on some of these government programs. And look, you know, we need the funds that we have built for our people, for people that if you're going to immigrate to the United States, that's fine, but you're going to have to be able to work and provide for yourself. um that's the way I see that. So anyway, so those are some of the things I just wanted to kind of mention to you guys today. I think that we've got some problems. There's definitely some problems out there in the world, but I am also pretty optimistic that things are going to get improved. Things are going to improve. I think that things are beginning to start gradually turning around with the economy. I've heard a lot of negativity out on podcasts and things like that things are just going to get worse. I don't think so. I think that we have some good, smart people in charge right now. Beyond Donald Trump, I think there's some people in his administration that are very knowledgeable, very smart. And I think we can get this thing turned around. Congress is a mess. It's really hard with Congress these days because it's so evenly divided. It's just, you know, when it's that evenly divided, it's just hard to get anything passed. And maybe that's good, maybe it's bad, but it just is what it is. Um, but we'll see. But the thing is, too, the United States is, with all of our problems, we still have the most vibrant companies in the world. We have very smart people running businesses. There's still a lot of motivation for new entrepreneurs to come out here and build new businesses. So, I still feel like the United States is the place to be. That's why I have 95% of my retirement money invested in the US. So, certainly there are some top, some stars out in the international community and international business, but the US is where it's at. Anyway, you guys have a great evening. Tomorrow's Monday. I'm kind of getting myself together for this week. I meant to get a few things done today, which just did not happen. I was going to go out and work on my patio. I bought myself a new trimmer, weed whacker thing, and I was going to go out there and do that this afternoon, and I fell asleep on my bed and got a little nap in. It was a great nap. I slept for about 2 hours, and I feel wonderful. So, I'm going to probably, tomorrow night, I'm supposed to go out with my daughter. We're going to go out to dinner tomorrow night. Tuesday afternoon after work, I'll probably come home and I'll work on the patio and knock that out, because it rained like the entire week this past week, and the grass is high. It's just gotta work on it. Anyway, you guys have a great evening and good start to the work week. And this is Don Palayo signing out.